mustard. People here really hope there are better times ahead. Bishop Auckland.
Well, the Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey, has hailed a record-breaking night for his party after they won 71 seats. That represents a huge increase on its performance in the 2019 election, when it returned to Parliament with just 11 MPs.
We can speak now to our political correspondent, Hannah Miller, who joins us from Maidenhead, which, of course, Hannah, used to be Theresa May's constituency.
Absolutely, yes, John. This is one of the Conservative heartland seats that the Liberal Democrats took last night for the first time since it was created. Former seat, as you say, of Theresa May.
Okay.
They also won in Whitney, which used to be represented by one David Cameron, and also in Henley, which used to be the seat of Boris. Then even during the coalition, and this morning, he wouldn't.
And, trust is a very commodity. It's hard won. And sometimes you've lost it. Very hard to win it back. And I want to thank people for trusting us again. We will not let you down. We will honour your trust.
Of what's going on here really is twofold. The dramatic loss in Conservative support. Liberal Democrats of seats meant that they previously came second. We all saw the stunts, didn't we? Ed Davey paddleboarding, Ed Davey driving a JCB, bungee jumping. But behind the scenes, there was a lot more serious strategy going on. They know, as a party, what it is like to pick up a lot of votes and not many seats. And this time, they were much more targeted in what they were trying to do. They played the game that was in front of them, and they have been rewarded with some really historic wins.
Yay, Mrs.
Hannah Miller, thank you very much indeed. Well, on the 8th attempt, Nigel Farage succeeded in being elected to Parliament. The Reform UK leader will be joined by 3 colleagues as well after the party received 15% of the national vote share.
Well, let's talk to our special correspondent, Lucy Manning, who has been following their campaign. Lucy, they did very well in terms of the number of votes. They actually got more votes than the Liberal Democrats, although it didn't translate into seats.
Yes, that's right. The third largest vote share and the third largest number of votes, but not the third largest number of seats. But Nigel Farage and the Reform UK Party will be and are very happy with their 4 MPs. Mr. Farage is about to arrive probably in the next hour or so here in central London with his 3 MPs near the House of Commons. The message that they want to send out very clear, that Reform UK has landed at Westminster. And just think back a few weeks ago, Nigel Farage was prepared to sit this one out, but he realised that to win it, he had to be in it, and that seemed to galvanise the Reform UK campaign. They squeezed the Tory vote, helping to bring about the downfall of the Tory government, and they took seats not just in Clacton, Mr Farage's seat, but Ashfield, Boston and Skegness and Great Yarmouth. But at the declaration last night, when he won his seat, Mr Farage was very clear he now has Labour in his sights.
Enthusiasm for Starmer whatsoever. In fact, about half of the vote is simply an anti-Conservative vote. This Labour government will be in trouble very, very quickly. And we will now be targeting Labour votes. We're coming for Labour, be in no doubt about that.
And the bruised Tory party will now have to decide how to deal with reform. Mr Farage sees this as a launchpad for 2029, but Westminster will be waiting for the populist, the disruptor, as Nigel Farage is finally an MP.
Lucy Manning, thank you. Well, it was a terrible night for the Scottish National Party. The leader of the SNP, John Swinney, has committed to staying on in his role despite his party suffering heavy losses overnight. They dropped from the 48 seats that they won in 2019 to just 9.
And as Katie Hunter now reports, this marks the SNP's worst performance in a general election for more than a decade.
victory looks like. Labour won just a single Scottish seat at the last general election.
These new Scottish Labour aim.
This time they won, and big.
The country is crying out for change after 14 years of more. Clear, this is also a recognition of the incompetence failure of an SNP government too. And I want to thank the people of Scotland for putting their faith and trust in the Labour Party. I understand their desire for change.
Man, yes.
The biggest story in Scotland was the scale of the SNP defeat.
Douglas Alexander is duly elected.
The party lost seat after seat after seat to Labour. Independence was page 1, line 1 of the SNP's manifesto. The party's new leader and First Minister John Swinney was in reflective mood this morning.
I have to accept that we failed to convince people of the urgency of independence in this election campaign. And therefore, we need to take the time to consider and to reflect on how we deliver our commitment to independence, which remains absolute.
The outgoing Scottish Tory leader lost to the SNP in Aberdeenshire North and Moray East, but the party held on to 5 of their 6 Scottish seats.
It's deeply disappointing, but I knew this was a possibility. In fact, when I announced that I was standing, I said the SNP would throw everything at the seat. I said John Swinney would make a rare appearance up to the north east of Scotland. He made more than one rare appearances. It'll now be interesting to see what the SNP do for this area.
The Lib Dems won 5 Scottish seats, with the possibility of one more in the Highlands to come. But in Scotland,
Oh yeah, we've still got some more.
largely won and lost.
Only 2 more seats to see who gets those
Labour
2.
won all 6 of the city seats from the SNP.
Yay! All 6 is Labour. It's got.
This election hurt for a party so used to winning. Katie Hunter, BBC News, Glasgow.
The Conservatives have been wiped from the electoral map in Wales, where every Tory candidate lost, with Labour taking seat after seat.
But there were also successes for Plaid Cymru and the Lib Dems. Thomas Morgan reports.
Bonita. And to borrow a phrase, it really is a good morning in Wales. The morning after.
The morning again for the Tories, getting the seats, got to Labour, getting back to where the United Kingdom should be, being where they should be today. This is a story, this is a song, waiting forever. This is a story, this is a hope for a better United Kingdom.
I considered reform.
Well, change the.
David T.C. Davis became the first Welsh secretary to office since the post was created. So the end. Successful campaign here, winning the majority of seats. Their share of the vote is down. They're lower at 35. Potential concern may be going into the Senate elections in 2 years' time.
Welsh Labour alarm bells, wondering why more of their support didn't turn out or in fact went elsewhere. They've only got 18 months or they go to the polls again anyway. And you suspect that they ought to be asking those questions of themselves.
And there were emotional scenes on Ynys Môn as Plaid Cymru won both their drop in support.
Now, for the first time, Sinn Féin has become Northern Ireland's largest party in Westminster, but its members don't take their seats in the House of Commons.
The Democratic Unionist Party lost 3 of its seats, including Ian Paisley. The year. Done.
Yes, John, in Northern Ireland it was.
Wonderful love, wonderful God, wonderful love, wonderful life for
the leader of the traditional unionist voice, a party which based its campaign on opposition to the DUP's power-sharing partnerships in the devolved government. The DUP also lost ground to more moderate political forces, to the Ulster Unionist Party losing 1 seat and another seat to the Cross Community Alliance Party. So in all, the DUP dropping from 8 seats to 5 seats. Sinn Féin held on to its 7 seats, meaning that after victories in council elections and in the elections of the devolved assembly in the last 2 years, it now has more MPs than any other party in Northern Ireland, a historic hat-trick for the Irish Nationalist Party. And the Vice President of Sinn Féin, Michelle O'Neill, the First Minister of Northern Ireland, pointed towards the party's ultimate ambition of taking Northern Ireland out of the UK.
So I think the fact that we're now the largest party of local government, the largest party of the Assembly, and speaks to the fact the time for change, it's time for us to be able to take control of our own fortunes here at home. So I look forward to the journey that we have ahead in terms of having a constitutional change conversation. What could that look like? What could be the better for us all here at home?
Well, those 7 Sinn Féin MPs won't be in the House of Commons as Irish Republicans. They don't believe the UK Parliament.
Chris Page, thank you. Well, the Green Party of England and Wales is celebrating its best ever results. They are up from 1 MP in the last Parliament to 4.
And one of them is the party's co-leader, Cara Denyer, who took the newly created seat of Bristol Central, and our West of England correspondent Dan Johnson is there for Dan.
Bristol Central. Cara Denyer for Bristol Central.
Across the south of England, they've defended the seat that they already held in Brighton Pavilion. They have won the seat of Bristol Central. That means that they've unseated Thangam Debonair, who was Labour's Shadow Culture Secretary. That's something for Keir Starmer to contemplate now, who will replace her. They also picked up the seat of Waveney Valley in East Anglia and North Herefordshire too, with the Denyer, who is now the MP for being celebrated, and telling them that the Green Party at this election has made history.
Everyone who voted Green, wherever you are, you've helped strengthen the case and make it easier for us, the Green MPs who've been elected, to push the incoming Labour government to be bolder on environmental matters and on making this country a fairer place.
Share of the vote is nudging up towards 7%. That would be their best performance ever. And these are different seats that they've picked up. The seat here in Bristol, very urban, like the Brighton seat that they were defending, but the seat in East Anglia and in Herefordshire, very rural places where the Conservatives have traditionally been safe in their seats. So the Green Party is saying this shows they have a broad base of support from which they can now build.
Dan, thank you very much indeed.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer walked into Downing Street less than an hour ago, and work begins right now.
But what do we know about it? Well, our political correspondent Nick Eardley now looks back at the new Prime Minister's own personal journey and his rise to power.
Keir Starmer has made it to the very top of British politics, but his journey to Downing Street wasn't always an obvious one. Keir Rodney Starmer was born in 1962, named after the first leader of the Labour Party, Keir Hardie. He was raised on the Surrey-Kent border, and he's spoken of what he called the hard times of growing up in the 1970s.
If you're working class, you're scared of debt. You're scared. My mum and dad were scared of debt. So they would choose the bill that they wouldn't pay
The young Keir Starmer was a keen musician at school, a member of the Young Socialists, and a passionate footballer, a central midfielder on the left. But he chose to study law at university and soon entered the legal profession. With a growing reputation as a workaholic, Starmer's legal stock grew. In 2008, he was made Chief Prosecutor for England and Wales. He oversaw significant cuts during the coalition government's austerity programme, but also high-profile prosecutions against MPs over expenses and the Lib Dem minister, Chris Huhne, for asking his wife to take speeding points. In 2015 came a career change at the age of 52. The now Sir Keir won a Labour safe seat in North London. He became Jeremy Corbyn's shadow Brexit secretary, backing a second referendum and backing his leader to be Prime Minister, even when others were reluctant to do so because of the handling of anti-Semitism allegations. The 2019 general election, of course, brought catastrophe for Labour. Corbyn resigned and Sir Keir won the race to succeed him. There were significant bumps in his early leadership. Starmer considered quitting after just 2 years when Boris Johnson's concept a Hartlepool badge. But he didn't quit. Instead, he took on Labour's left and ruthlessly. Policy. British patriotism was embraced.
Yes, I would describe myself as a socialist.
He is only the 7th Labour Prime Minister in British history. Some still have questions about the new Prime Minister. The coming weeks and months may answer some of them. But what's undeniable is that he's done something many thought impossible just a few years ago. He's taken Labour from opposition back into power. Nick Eardley, BBC News.
So the new Prime Minister has gone, and right now he is beginning to appoint members of his new cabinet, and we will bring you all the details of that later this afternoon.
In a moment we are going to go to the news where you are, but we're going to reminder of some as the results came in overnight.
From now on, fake governments unburdened by doctrine, guided only by the determination to serve your interests.